Alex Albon will return to racing in Formula 1 next year after being signed by Williams. But it doesn't mean he's parted company with Red Bull, which says it retains a relationship with a 25-year-old London-born Thai driver. While this means Albon will line up alongside Nicholas Latifi at Williams next year, the exact nature of his Red Bull relationship remains somewhat muddy. And given Toto Wolff previously expressed some concerns about a driver who is on Red Bull's books driving for one of the Mercedes customer teams, it's also a potential political flashpoint. So what exactly is the nature of Albon's deals with Williams and Red Bull, and what are his chances of emulating Pierre Gasly and becoming one of F1's star midfield performers after being rejected by Red Bull Racing? Let us know in the comments below if you think it's acceptable for Albon to drive for Williams while retaining his Red Bull links, and if you think Williams has made the right choice. The answer to the question of whether Albon is a Williams or a Red Bull driver is not a simple one. Williams CEO Jost Capito said repeatedly that Albon is a Williams driver for 2022, but was otherwise evasive and suggested that this is a question to ask Red Bull itself. So the race did exactly that and received a response confirming that Red Bull does hold what it calls future options on Albon. Capito also wouldn't confirm whether Williams has first call on Albon's services in 2023. However, given Red Bull has not found a place for Albon in its 4 available seats for 2022, it seems fair to assume that Williams sees Albon as a long-term prospect. What Capito did confirm is that Williams controls Albon's destiny in 2022, so were Red Bull to want to move Albon across to its main team or AlphaTauri during the season, it could only do so if Williams agreed to it. Perhaps more puzzling is why Red Bull has retained links to Albon at all, given he is by definition its 5th choice driver. One suggestion is that it could be part of a potential wider relationship between Red Bull and Williams, perhaps even one that could lead to it supplying engines in the future in place of Mercedes. Putting 2 and 2 together, it could even be that it's part of a plan for Volkswagen, which Capito has close ties with, getting involved in F1, using engines supplied by the new Red Bull Powertrains organisation in the future. Williams' current Mercedes engine deal runs to the end of 2025. Right now, this is purely speculative, but there is the possibility that there is more to this relationship than meets the eye. The fact that Williams and Capito have been so evasive about the nature of the relationship, sticking to the somewhat opaque and obvious statement that Albon is a Williams driver in 2022, but dodging pretty much every other question, further fuels that suspicion. After all, he didn't even rule out Williams carrying some Red Bull branding. Pierre Gasly went from Red Bull Racing reject to midfield superstar with AlphaTauri. Williams will be hoping that Albon can follow a similar path and revitalise his F1 career with stellar performances for a team that's hoping to be in the middle of the pack, or better, next year. Williams cast the net far and wide in choosing its new driver, with Valtteri Bottas, Nico Hülkenberg, Nick de Vries and Guan Yu Zhou among the many drivers considered. But Williams has been attracted by the Gasly formula of recycling a driver whose big chance with a front-running team at Red Bull turns sour, even if Capito doesn't like to see it as recycling. Gasly and Albon are very different drivers and people, and their circumstances are not identical in every way. What the pair do have in common is that neither made the most of their Red Bull chance. Elite sport is tough, the standards sky high, and just because they failed at Red Bull Racing doesn't mean they have nothing to offer. Gasly has proved that beyond any question with his performances since then. While Gasly was immediately dropped into Toro Rosso with little time to stew at a decision he clearly still believes was wrong, Albon's return has been more sedate. He also remained on Red Bull's books, but as its F1 reserve, with a sideline racing in the reborn DTM driving a Ferrari 488 GT3. But Williams didn't sign him off the back of his DTM performances. First on the list of reasons is his experience. Albon has 2 seasons in F1 under his belt and has played an active role as Red Bull's reserve. This has included mileage behind the wheel of its 18-inch wheel mule car for Pirelli testing. That gives him big team experience and the advantage of not being a rookie. That's important for a team rebuilding itself, especially considering he's a driver who is still only 25 and could have a long future with Williams. But second is something more intangible, namely Albon's undoubted ability as a racing driver. This has never been in doubt, despite the fact his car racing career has perhaps fallen short of the expectations established by his karting days. In karting, Albon was the man at times, and Lando Norris described him as one of his heroes. He even had a poster of him on his wall. He's also spoken of highly by Charles Leclerc and George Russell. Capito confirmed that Russell had been very positive about old friend and rival Albon's abilities. Russell, of course, was as puzzled as anyone by Albon's struggles and shattered confidence at Red Bull in 2020 after a gently encouraging half-season in 2019, but knows better than most how good Albon can be. But as Capito says, the decision was the team's, not Russell's. Given Albon's Red Bull struggles, it's no surprise to see some suggesting Williams might have been better off taking a rookie. But while Capito stressed that Albon's experience was decisive in choosing him over a newcomer like Nick de Vries, he also has a huge potential upside. His 11-race stint with Toro Rosso in 2019 was genuinely impressive, which explains why he was chosen to take Gasly's place at Red Bull after the summer break, rather than more experienced teammate Daniel Kvyat. His calling card performance, which remains his most impressive drive in F1, was at Hockenheim that season. While Kvyat's third place finish was ostensibly the star performance, this was thanks to a slick tyre gamble, but Albon ran in the top 6 almost throughout, so wasn't in a position to take such a risk given what he had to lose, and could well have been on the podium himself. Oh, and his first experience of driving an F1 car in the wet came on the first lap of the race. That's the Albon that Williams is hoping to see regularly in 2022, and although his Red Bull switch was a failure, the first half season in 2019 did suggest that he might crack it the following season. As while there were no podium finishes, there were plenty of decent performances. And but for a couple of collisions with Lewis Hamilton that stewards blamed the Mercedes driver for, he could have added a second place at Interlagos in 2019 and perhaps even a win in Austria the following season. But overall, Albon was 0.493 seconds slower on average than Verstappen in qualifying in 2020, and despite the team almost imploring him to make the seat his own, Albon failed and was replaced by Sergio Perez for 2021. With Red Bull and Honda keen to bring Yuki Tsunoda in, there was no room at the AlphaTauri Inn, so Albon was shunted to the sidelines. That's where his story diverges with Gasly's, because there was no immediate opportunity to try and prove Red Bull wrong. It's important to note that the reasons for Albon's struggles were very different. While Gasly's attitude and approach didn't sit well with the team, and this is the primary reason why his case for a return to Red Bull has been rejected, Albon's did. Where Albon seemed to be lacking was an area where he initially looked very strong in F1. The mental strength and robustness just didn't seem to be there, and he fell into a spiral that, while not necessarily downward, certainly wasn't going in an upward direction. If Gasly's apparent belligerence seemed counterproductive, Albon was almost too far the other way and seemed lost. He perhaps lacks that capacity to live with a really on-the-edge car that Verstappen and Leclerc have, but he's a seriously quick driver, and while his confidence was shot at Red Bull and made him visibly tentative behind the wheel, he wasn't overawed at all early in his F1 career. In fact, he looked completely at home at Toro Rosso. The Gasly AlphaTauri model is relevant here. Gasly clearly performs at his best knowing that the team is built around him and that has produced a car that chimes with his driving style. Williams must do the same, albeit without the prior knowledge of working with Albon that the Italian team had to work from when Gasly returned. Ultimately though, Williams can only do so much. Thanks to its position as a minor player in the driver market, it's had to take a driver who is regarded in the F1 paddock as damaged goods and hope to rebuild him. If it works, then Williams will have its very own Gasly on its hands, which is a huge potential upside. This, combined with his experience, is why it has taken the gamble. But whether it pays off will largely depend on Albon himself. Has he learned? Does he really have that edge you need to thrive in F1? Can he gather up all the raw materials that he has and turn himself into a driver who can perform consistently well in the cut and thrust of F1? If he does, then Williams could even risk losing him back to Red Bull, given it retains its ties to him. So what do you think the future holds for Albon, Williams and Red Bull, and can he do what Gasly has done so brilliantly with AlphaTauri? Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoyed this look at Albon's prospects and curious contractual status, make sure you like and subscribe.